She opened my door without warning, grabbed me firmly and whispered, "Do it now." Her silver skin glowed under the neon lights, her violet hair swirling like smoke. Then she vanished, leaving me with a 47-second gap in surveillance footage and coordinates to a night market where old and new collide. That moment shattered my reality as a journalist and pulled me into a conspiracy that defies corporate power and physics itself. Rain streaked down the window of Ka's fourth-floor apartment in New Gai, Saigon's media district. He sat at his desk, the glow of 3 monitors washing over his face as he reviewed protest footage from the data stream riots. Sounds of hover traffic and distant sirens formed a constant backdrop to his work. The door to his apartment slid open. No chime, no hydraulic hiss, no alert on his access panel. It moved silently, revealing the silver-skinned woman standing in the corridor. She filled the doorway, her form illuminated by the apartment's dim lighting. Violet strands of hair coiled around her shoulders as if moved by some unfelt wind. Her eyes held shifting colors that defied natural optics, hues that pulsed in rhythms Ka felt more than saw. She moved before he could react, crossing the room in a motion that blurred at the edges. Her hand closed around his forearm, the grip surprisingly strong. A static charge traveled up his arm, making the fine hairs stand up. Her whisper reached him like a physical vibration. The words carried an electric tingle that seemed to resonate in his bones. Then she was gone, vanished without displacing air or leaving any trace of her passage. Ka stared at the empty space where she had stood, his heart hammering against his ribs. The apartment door remained open, showing only the empty corridor beyond. He checked his security system first. The log showed no entry, no forced access, no movement detected. The surveillance footage contained a gap, exactly 47 seconds missing from all camera angles and audio feeds. His journalist training warred with a deep instinctual dread. He examined his forearm where she had gripped him, expecting to find marks or residue. The skin appeared normal, though it still tingled with remembered current. This was no random intrusion. The precision of the security breach, the targeted nature of her appearance, the deliberate message, every detail pointed to a calculated intervention. Someone or something had chosen him specifically, knowing his location, bypassing his security and delivering a command meant only for him. He understood that his life had shifted on its axis in those 47 seconds. Kay opened his encrypted messaging system, his fingers moving with a certainty he didn't question. The coordinates appeared in his primary display, a string of numbers that pointed to Cholan Market's deepest sectors. He felt no surprise at their appearance, only a cold recognition that the real story had just begun, and he was now part of it whether he wanted to be or not. Kay found the encryption buried in his system's metadata. He almost missed it amid the routine data streams and automated backups. The message wasn't text or code. It registered as a spectrum of light frequencies shimmering across his main display like a captured rainbow. Standard decryption tools failed to process it. The signal required specialized optical recognition equipment, typically found only in corporate labs or black market tech shops. The coordinates resolved to the Blackwater section of Cholan Market. Ka knew the area from reputation alone. It held the kind of establishments that operated outside corporate jurisdiction, places where information and illegal tech changed hands in shadowed alleys. His editor had always warned him about that sector after sundown. He noticed the silver residue then. The woman's touch had left a faint metallic shimmer on his forearm, almost invisible unless caught at the right angle. When he turned his arm under the desk lamp, the substance caught the light like powdered glass. Corporate drones began appearing with unusual frequency around his building. Surveillance models he recognized from high security zones now hovered near his window, their lenses rotating with deliberate focus. Their presence confirmed his growing suspicion that the woman's visit had triggered corporate attention beyond routine monitoring. His editor calmed him an hour later. The older man's face appeared grim on the screen, his usual professional mask slipping. He warned Kay off pursuing any stories related to Project Gateway. The warning carried an uncharacteristic urgency, his voice dropping on the encrypted line. "Some stories aren't worth disappearing over," he said before cutting the connection. Kay understood the message's true nature then. The light spectrum wasn't meant to be decoded through conventional means. It required tracing the unique energy signature the silver-skinned woman had left behind. Her touch had transferred more than just a visual marker. It had imprinted a biological key that could interact with the encrypted data. He packed his field kit against every professional instinct. The editor's warning echoed in his mind, but the pulsing coordinates held stronger pull. Standard procedure dictated reporting unusual encounters to corporate security. Standard procedure didn't account for silver-skinned women who vanished from secured apartments. As he prepared to leave, the silver residue on his arm began to glow. A soft, rhythmic pulse of light emerged from the shimmering particles. The light synchronized with the encrypted spectrum on his display, both patterns matching in frequency and intensity. The residue responded to the message, creating a living map only he could follow. He watched the pulse quicken as he moved toward the door, slowing when he stepped away. The substance functioned as both compass and authenticator, guiding him toward whatever awaited in Cholan Market's depths. He disabled his apartment's security protocols, knowing corporate systems would track his departure. The drones outside adjusted their positions, aligning with his movement toward the market district. The silver glow intensified as he reached the street, its pulse becoming a steady beat against his skin. He moved through crowded sidewalks, the light guiding him like a silent metronome counting down to an appointment he hadn't chosen but couldn't ignore. Cholan Market unfolded beneath elevated transit lines, its corridors pulsing with neon and shadow like some living organism. Ka moved through the main thoroughfare, his silver-marked arm held close to his body. The glow from his skin responded to his surroundings, brightening near certain stalls and fading near others. It pulsed strongly beside a vendor selling vintage optical drives, then dimmed to near invisibility near a tattoo parlor offering data-linked ink. He noticed the security teams moving through the crowd. They wore civilian clothing but carried themselves with military precision. Their boots moved in synchronized patterns, their eyes scanning the crowd with professional detachment. One team member's jacket shifted as he turned, revealing the telltale bulge of a pulse weapon beneath the fabric. They weren't market security. These were corporate enforcers operating outside their usual jurisdictions. The market's architecture shifted around him in disorienting patterns. One moment he walked through ancient stone archways that smelled of incense and old wood. The next he passed chrome-plated storefronts showing holographic merchandise. The transition between old and new happened without warning, as if the market itself couldn't decide which era it belonged to. Neon signs flickered beside hand-painted wooden boards, their competing light sources creating overlapping shadows on the crowded walkways. A food vendor caught his attention as he passed a noodle stall. The elderly man stirred a large pot of broth, his movements slow and deliberate. As a pair of corporate security passed behind Kai, the vendor's hand shot out with surprising speed. He pressed a small data chip into Kai's palm, then returned to stirring as if nothing had happened. His eyes never met Kai's, but the message was clear. Ka closed his fingers around the chip, feeling its cool metallic surface against his skin. He found a relatively quiet corner between a synth leather vendor and a repair shop. The chip contained partial schematics labeled Project Gateway. The diagrams showed overlapping dimensional layers, energy convergence points, and something called reality stabilization protocols. The schematics were incomplete, as if torn from a larger document, but showed enough to suggest technology far beyond current corporate capabilities. Notes in the margins referenced containment fields and dimensional bridges, terms Ka recognized from theoretical physics papers. The silver glow on his arm intensified, pulling him toward the market's older section. He passed through a corridor where ancient tapestries hung between modern advertising screens. One particularly faded tapestry showed mythical creatures dancing among stars. The silver pulse became almost painful as he approached it, the light burning bright enough to see through his sleeve fabric. He lifted the tapestry's edge, revealing a seamless doorway cut into the stone wall behind it. The doorway opened to his touch, though he saw no visible mechanism. It slid aside without sound, revealing darkness beyond. Market sounds cut off abruptly as he stepped through, replaced by absolute silence. The transition felt like stepping through a membrane, the air pressure changing enough to make his ears pop. The tapestry fell back into place behind him, leaving him in near-total darkness with only the silver glow from his arm providing any illumination. The air smelled different here, clean and sterile, with a faint ozone tang that reminded him of laboratory spaces. The darkness behind the tapestry gave way to a climate-controlled server room that hummed with quiet efficiency. Banks of servers lined the walls, their status lights blinking in steady patterns. Cool air circulated through the space, carrying the faint smell of ozone and polished metal. A man in a wheelchair turned from a bank of monitors as Ka entered. His face showed the weathered lines of someone who had operated in shadowed places for too long. "Lon," the man said, his voice carrying the flat tones of military training.
"Former military intelligence."
"We've been expecting you." He gestured toward a screen showing Ka's apartment building. Footage played of the silver-skinned woman's arrival and departure, captured from angles Ka hadn't known existed. "You've been tracked since the doorway incident. Not just by us." Multiple monitors flickered to life, showing the woman appearing at other locations. She stood beside a reactor during a meltdown warning in North Sector, her hand on an engineer's shoulder. She appeared during a corporate boardroom coup, whispering to a dissenting executive. Each time, surveillance systems showed the same 47-second gap. Each time the person she touched emerged changed, their actions shifting course in ways that prevented disasters. Lon explained the true nature of Project Gateway. It wasn't about reaching other planets through conventional space travel. The project aimed to bend reality itself, creating folds in space-time that could connect distant points or even different dimensions. Corporate research had stumbled upon principles that should have remained theoretical, pushing into territories humanity wasn't prepared to handle. The 47-second gap represented one of these folds. Time didn't just stop or get erased, it folded back on itself, creating a pocket where conventional physics didn't apply. The woman moved through these folds as if they were doorways, appearing and vanishing through manipulations of reality's fabric. He called her an Archon, a being from a species much older than humanity. They had watched civilization's development for centuries, sometimes intervening when technological progress threatened to outpace ethical understanding. Their biology operated on principles that made human physics look primitive by comparison. Lyra's whisper carried dual purposes. It served as warning about the dangers of Gateway's unchecked development, and as invitation to someone capable of understanding the stakes. The command to act now reflected urgency not just for Ka, but for civilization's survival. Lon showed Ka his own genetic sequencing on another screen. Markers showed unexpected Archon biology woven through his DNA, explaining his ability to perceive the light spectrum encryption and interact with the silver residue. The characteristics had remained dormant until activated by Lyra's touch. A young woman emerged from behind a server rack, her hands moving across a tablet. Lon introduced her as Lan, their tech specialist. She had been monitoring Ka's progress through the market, coordinating the information drops and creating distractions when corporate security came too close. Her expertise lay in bridging human and Archon technologies, finding ways to make their systems communicate. Lan showed Ka how the silver residue functioned as both translator and amplifier. It allowed his human biology to interface with Archon systems, converting their energy signatures into forms his senses could process. The pulsing light represented information transfer occurring at levels beneath conscious awareness. She explained they had limited time before corporate forces located the sanctuary. The energy signatures from their systems, combined with Ka's unique biology, created detectable ripples in local spacetime. They needed to move before those ripples attracted the wrong kind of attention. Alarms blared through the sanctuary's sterile air. Red lights pulsed across server banks, casting emergency glow across Lon's tense face. He gestured toward a concealed panel in the wall. "Maintenance access. They've triangulated our position." Lon slid the panel open, revealing a narrow tunnel smelling of ozone and dust. She motioned Ka forward, her expression tight with urgency. They moved through cramped passages lined with conduit pipes and fiber optic cables. The air grew warmer as they distanced themselves from the climate-controlled server room. Ka's silver-marked arm glowed with increasing intensity, casting blue-white light across the metal walls. He could feel the residue humming against his skin, responding to some unseen threat. Heat-seeking drones entered the tunnel behind them. Their propulsion systems created a low whine that echoed through the confined space. Targeting lasers painted red dots on the walls near their heads. Lan produced a handheld device from her belt, its surface covered in mismatched components. She activated it, sending out interference patterns that made the targeting lasers waver. Ka's glowing arm seemed to disrupt the drone's systems more effectively. When he raised it toward the pursuing machines, their targeting systems flickered and lost lock. The silver residue emitted energy signatures that confused their sensors, creating brief windows for movement. They reached a ladder leading upward, rusted rungs vibrating with the drone's approach. The rooftop spread before them under steady rain. Solar panels covered most surfaces, their wet surfaces reflecting the city's neon glow. Water collected in shallow pools between panel arrays, creating mirrored surfaces that distorted their movements. The drones emerged from the access hatch, their weapon systems cycling through targeting protocols. Land's device created shimmering patterns in the air around them. The interference distorted visual and thermal signatures, making it difficult for the drones to maintain target acquisition. Ka kept his glowing arm raised, the silver light pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. Each pulse caused the drones to hesitate, their systems struggling to process the anomalous energy signature. He saw Lyra then. She stood on the adjacent rooftop, her form semi-transparent against the rain-swept sky. Her silver skin caught the city lights differently than the rain around her, creating a subtle distortion in the air. She made no move to approach, simply watched as the drones continued their pursuit. Her presence seemed to draw the security team's attention. The drones shifted focus toward Lyra's position. Their weapon systems reoriented, targeting lasers painting the empty space where she appeared. In that moment of distraction, Lan pulled Ka toward the roof's edge. They moved across slick solar panels, their footing uncertain on the wet surfaces. Below them, the night market continued unaware, its lights and sounds contrasting with their silent struggle. Lyra's form vanished as suddenly as it appeared. The drones lost their target, systems recalibrating toward Ka and Lan. But the distraction had provided enough time. They reached a maintenance bridge connecting to a cathedral spire rising above the market. The ancient stone structure stood apart from the modern architecture, its surface marked with holographic prayer wheels that rotated slowly in the rain. They crossed into the cathedral's shadow, the drones halting at the boundary between rooftops. The machines hovered at the edge, their systems refusing to cross into the spire's territory. Ka understood this place held some protected status that even corporate security respected. The glowing residue on his arm softened to a gentle pulse, its urgent warning fading as they reached safety. Lan leaned against the stone wall, her breathing evening out. She watched the drones retreat back toward the access hatch, their mission apparently canceled. The cathedral's holographic prayers cast shifting patterns across their faces, the ancient symbols blending with modern light technology. Ka looked back toward where Lyra had stood, realizing her appearance wasn't just protection, it was another test of how he would respond under pressure. Stone arches rose around them, their ancient curves supporting holographic prayer wheels that rotated silently in the cathedral's dim light. The air carried the scent of old stone and ozone from the projecting equipment. A priest approached them, his footsteps quiet on the stone floor. Cybernetic implants traced patterns around his eyes and temples, their soft glow matching the holograms overhead. He welcomed them to sanctuary with a gesture that encompassed the entire space, his augmented eyes assessing them without judgment. Outside, corporate security forces maintained their perimeter. They couldn't enter the cathedral grounds due to ancient sanctuary laws that even powerful corporations respected, but their presence formed an invisible cage around the building. Armored vehicles blocked adjacent streets, their weapon systems trained on the cathedral's entrances. The priest showed them a monitor displaying the siege situation, his expression calm despite the tension. He led them to the archives, a vault that predated the city itself. Its walls were constructed of actual stone rather than synthetic materials, their surface cool to the touch. The archives contained records of 13 civilizations that had faced similar turning points. Each collection told the same essential story, species reaching technological thresholds that threatened to outpace their ethical development, each receiving warnings they failed to heed. The records showed patterns of collapse that followed recognizable cycles of ambition, leading to overextension. Holographic sermons played in continuous loops throughout the cathedral. These presentations spoke of universal immune systems that monitored developing civilizations, eliminating threats before they could spread beyond containment. The imagery showed cosmic-scale processes that identified and neutralized dangerous technological developments, presenting them as natural evolutionary checks rather than conscious attacks. The sermons described these systems as necessary filters for galactic stability. Lyra appeared in archival footage from 50 years earlier, The recording showed her addressing a group of scientists in what appeared to be a research facility. Her silver skin and violet hair looked exactly as Ka had seen them, unchanged by time. She spoke about necessary evolution versus dangerous ambition, her words carrying the same electric intensity Ka remembered from her whisper. She warned that technology without wisdom created existential risks that could not be contained. She told the scientists, "I come with both warning and offer." Her statement framed the situation as a choice rather than a predetermined outcome. The scientists in the recording appeared divided, some viewing her as an opportunity, others as a threat to their research independence. The footage ended with Lyra vanishing from the secured room, leaving the scientists to debate her message. Kay understood Project Gateway's true purpose then. It wasn't about exploration or expansion. It represented an attempt to escape cosmic judgment by fleeing to other dimensions before the cleaners could respond. The project aimed to create emergency exits from reality itself, allowing select individuals to avoid consequences that would affect the entire species. This explained the extreme secrecy and the corporate investment in something that seemed theoretically impossible. His father's corporation wanted to weaponize this knowledge. They saw the gateway technology as both threat and opportunity, a chance to eliminate rivals by attracting cleaner attention to competing factions while securing their own escape routes. The strategy involved triggering responses against enemies while preserving their own existence through dimensional evasion. This explained the corporate interest in tracking Ka's movements since Lyra's appearance. The priest revealed the final piece. Ka's mother had been part Archon, her biology containing the same markers that now activated in Ka. She had worked with Lyra decades earlier, trying to guide development away from dangerous paths. Her death during early Gateway research hadn't been accidental. She had been eliminated when her warnings threatened corporate plans. This genetic connection explained why Lyra chose Kay, and why his body responded to her touch in ways others couldn't. The cathedral's main hologram array activated without warning. Light coalesced in the central space, forming the translucent figures of 7 silver-skinned beings arranged in a semicircle. Lyra stood before them, her form more detailed than in previous appearances. The council members showed subtle variations in their appearance, some with hair like frozen smoke, others with skin that seemed to contain shifting constellations. Their collective presence filled the cathedral with a low hum that vibrated through the stone floors. They discussed humanity's approaching threshold test. Their language translated through the holographic system, the words emerging with formal precision. The Archons revealed they had guided other species through similar developmental stages, with results ranging from successful integration to complete collapse. They spoke of civilizations that embraced guidance and those that resisted it, their outcomes following predictable patterns based on cooperation levels. Lyra made the claim directly. Her people had written certain genetic patterns into early humanity, embedding markers that would activate when the species reached critical evolutionary points. These patterns served as both guidance systems and compatibility measures, allowing selected individuals to interface with Archon technology and consciousness. The genetic interventions had been subtle, woven into human DNA during early development stages to emerge only when needed. Project Gateway represented both extraordinary opportunity and profound risk. The Council explained that dimensional bridging technology could either elevate civilization or trigger its eradication. They framed it as a test of wisdom rather than capability. Humanity's ability to handle powerful technology would determine its survival. The discussion carried the weight of precedent, with Council members referencing specific cases where similar technologies had destroyed entire species. Senator Marcus appeared within the transmission unexpectedly. His image flickered into existence beside the council, his expression showing the controlled confidence of someone negotiating from a position he believed to be strong. He addressed the Archons with the practiced diplomacy of corporate politics, his words carefully chosen to suggest partnership while clearly seeking advantage. He proposed terms that would give his corporation exclusive access to gateway technology in exchange for limited Archon oversight. K watched his father negotiate with beings who had existed before human civilization began. The senator's approach treated them as business partners rather than guardians of cosmic balance. He framed the situation as a transaction, offering compliance in exchange for technological access. His presence in the transmission revealed he had been communicating with the Archons long before the doorway incident, conducting negotiations without public knowledge or oversight. The negotiation exposed deeper layers of deception. Senator Marcus referenced previous communications and agreements, mentioning terms that suggested ongoing discussions about Gateway's implementation. He spoke of timelines and implementation schedules that contradicted public corporate statements about the project's developmental stage. His familiarity with Archon terminology and concepts showed extensive prior engagement. Lyra's attention shifted during the negotiation. Her gaze moved from the council to something beyond the transmission parameters. She looked directly through the holographic interface as if seeing Ka standing in the cathedral. Her eyes focused on him with an intensity that transcended the technological medium. The other council members continued their discussion with Senator Marcus, but Lyra's focus remained fixed on Kai. Her lips formed the familiar words without sound. The phrase carried the same urgency as when she had whispered it in his apartment. The silent command cut through the diplomatic discussions, a personal message meant only for him. Her expression held the same electric intensity he remembered from their first encounter, the colors in her eyes shifting in patterns that seemed to synchronize with the silver residue on his arm. The transmission continued around her silent message. Senator Marcus concluded his proposal, awaiting the council's response. The Archons conferred among themselves, their discussion inaudible to the transmission. Lyra maintained eye contact with Kay, her unwavering attention emphasizing that the real negotiation wasn't happening between the council and his father. It was happening in this moment across space and technology between the two of them. Her repeated command carried the weight of everything he had learned, compressing the choice into 3 simple words that would determine which path humanity would follow. Kay established a secure comm link through the cathedral's ancient systems. The connection bypassed standard corporate encryption, using protocols the priest provided. Senator Marcus answered immediately, his image appearing crisp and controlled against what appeared to be his private office backdrop. He showed no surprise at the contact, his expression maintaining the composed mask of political authority. Ka confronted him directly about Project Gateway, bypassing formalities. The senator admitted his role without hesitation. He spoke of the project as humanity's necessary evolution, framing it as inevitable progress rather than dangerous ambition. His words carried the conviction of someone who believed completely in his own vision. He explained his belief that humanity should claim dominance rather than seek cooperation with other species. This philosophy guided his approach to the Gateway technology and his negotiations with the Archons. The weaponization plan involved triggering cleaner responses against rival corporations and governments. By manipulating Gateway technology to create specific energy signatures, they could attract the cosmic immune system's attention toward competitors, while shielding their own operations. The strategy treated the cleaners as weapons to be aimed rather than forces to be understood or respected. This approach reflected a fundamental misunderstanding of the systems they were manipulating. Senator Marcus viewed the Archons as tools rather than partners. He described them as advanced technology, to be reverse-engineered and controlled, not as conscious beings with their own agendas and wisdom. His negotiations focused on extracting information and access while giving minimal concessions. He saw their guidance as interference rather than assistance, their warnings as obstacles to be circumvented. He revealed the truth about Ka's mother's death. She hadn't died in an accident during early Gateway research as Kai had been told. She had been eliminated when her warnings about the project's dangers threatened corporate plans. Her attempts to alert others about the risks had made her a liability that needed removal. The admission carried no apparent regret, only factual reporting of necessary actions taken to protect the project's secrecy. Kay understood then why his genetic connection made him uniquely positioned to stop what was happening. His mixed biology allowed him to interface with Archon technology in ways pure humans couldn't. His mother's legacy gave him both the ability and the responsibility to prevent the catastrophe she had tried to warn about. The personal betrayal fused with larger stakes, making the conflict both intimate and universal. Lyra appeared beside him as this realization settled. Her form manifested with new stability. No longer semi-transparent or shifting, she stood fully present in the cathedral space. her silver skin reflecting the holographic prayers rotating overhead. Her violet hair moved as if in unseen currents, but her attention remained fixed on Kay. She explained the true meaning behind her repeated command. The do it now wasn't about immediate action in the conventional sense. It served as activation code for his latent Archon abilities, triggering the biological changes that allowed him to perceive and interact with realities beyond normal human capacity. The phrase functioned as both instruction and key, unlocking potential that had remained dormant until her intervention. His response to the command determined whether the activation would complete successfully. Their hands met without conscious decision. His silver-marked forearm touched her silver skin, creating a connection that transcended physical contact. Energy surged through the contact point, flowing between them in both directions. The cathedral systems reacted immediately, their holographic displays flickering and distorting. The secure comm link with Senator Marcus collapsed into static, his image fragmenting into digital noise before vanishing completely. The energy surge spread beyond the communication systems. Cathedral lighting fluctuated, ancient stone walls humming with transferred power. Holographic prayer wheels accelerated their rotation, their projected symbols blurring into unrecognizable patterns. The priest watched from the archives entrance, his cybernetic implants glowing with unusual intensity. Lan emerged from the server room, her technical equipment showing similar disruptions. Lyra maintained contact as the energy transfer continued. Her eyes held the same swirling colors Ka remembered from their first meeting, but now he could perceive patterns within them. Information flowed through the connection, not as words or images, but as direct understanding. He felt the architect's perspective on the situation, their concerns about Gateway's misuse, and their hope that he could help guide a different outcome. The surge eventually subsided, leaving behind a charged silence. Cathedral systems returned to normal operation, their displays showing standard functions. The secure comm link remained offline. Its protocols OK's consciousness expanded beyond physical boundaries. He experienced Lyra's memories as his own, the transition happening without resistance. The cathedral vanished, replaced by visions of countless civilizations reaching technological thresholds. He saw species after species pushing beyond sustainable development, their ambitions outpacing wisdom. Each followed similar patterns of expansion and collapse, their stories echoing with familiar warnings ignored. The cleaners operated with precision rather than malice. They didn't destroy civilizations but reset them, eliminating aggressive expansion patterns while preserving potential for future development. Their interventions targeted specific technologies and knowledge bases that threatened cosmic stability. The process resembled pruning rather than eradication, removing dangerous growth while allowing healthier development to continue. This approach explained why some species survived their threshold tests while others vanished completely. Lyra's people believed in guided evolution through partnership. They offered assistance to developing civilizations, providing knowledge and perspective that could prevent destructive paths. Their approach emphasized cooperation over control, seeing themselves as catalysts rather than directors. This philosophy contrasted sharply with Senator Marcus's desire for dominance and control. The Archons measured success by sustainable development rather than technological advancement alone. Their touch created a permanent bridge between human and Archon consciousness. The connection allowed information exchange at levels beyond language or conventional communication. Ka felt Lyra's experiences merging with his own, their separate perspectives blending into something new. The merger wasn't domination but integration, creating a combined viewpoint that understood both human ambition and Archon wisdom. The weight of 13 failed civilizations settled into his awareness. He felt their collective histories, their triumphs and mistakes, their hopes and eventual realizations. Each collapse carried lessons about balance and responsibility, about the dangers of pursuing power without purpose. The experiences accumulated like layers of sediment, forming a foundation of understanding that transcended individual perception. His journalistic curiosity revealed itself as intentional design. The drive to investigate, to question authority, to seek hidden truths, all served purposes beyond professional satisfaction. These traits aligned perfectly with what the situation required, suggesting his development had been influenced by factors beyond random chance. His career path hadn't been accidental, but appropriate preparation for this moment. Their merged consciousness gained unprecedented coordination abilities. They could process information across vast distances simultaneously, maintaining awareness of multiple locations and timelines. This capability allowed them to monitor developments in real time while planning responses. The connection functioned like a distributed network, with their combined awareness serving as its central processing unit. They saw Senator Marcus preparing the transmission system. His team worked on equipment designed to send specific energy signatures across dimensions. The technology aimed to attract cleaner attention toward rival factions while shielding their own operations. The plan showed sophistication in manipulating systems they fundamentally misunderstood, treating cosmic forces as weapons to be aimed. The merge revealed a third path beyond the binary choices of conquest or submission. This alternative involved integrating Archon guidance with human innovation, creating a hybrid approach that respected both species' strengths. It required accepting oversight while maintaining autonomy, finding balance between ambition and responsibility. The solution emerged from their combined perspectives, something neither could have conceived alone. This third path offered hope for avoiding both destruction and domination. It suggested humanity could evolve without triggering the cleaner's response, could advance without repeating past civilizations' mistakes. The approach required fundamental changes in how power was structured and exercised, moving from control to collaboration. Their merged consciousness began developing implementation strategies, drawing on both species' knowledge and experience. The connection deepened as they worked, their separate identities blending further. Ka understood this wasn't loss of self but expansion of perspective. The merger allowed him to see beyond human limitations while retaining human values. Lyra gained understanding of human resilience and creativity, qualities her people valued but didn't possess in the same measure. Together they formed something capable of addressing the crisis. The merged consciousness accessed networks beyond conventional space charts. Their combined awareness flowed through channels normally reserved for Archon communications, discovering installations that didn't appear on any human or corporate registry. These off-book stations existed in gravitational shadows and energy dead zones, places where sensors rarely scanned. The stations showed sophisticated camouflage technology that made them virtually invisible to standard detection methods. They found the transmitter on Kepler 442b, the exoplanet's location in the Lyra constellation, placed it approximately 1,206 light-years from Earth, making it an ideal observation post far from human traffic. The station orbited the K-type star Kepler 442, a smaller and cooler sun than Earth's. This positioning within the habitable zone suggested the planet could support liquid water, though its surface gravity would be significantly stronger than Earth's. The transmitter's design revealed its true purpose. It wasn't built for communication with other species or dimensions. Its entire architecture focused on sending specific energy signatures designed to attract the cleaner's attention. The system could target rival operations with precision, aiming cosmic responses like weapons toward selected locations. This perversion of observation technology into offensive capability showed how completely Senator Marcus misunderstood the forces he was manipulating. Dr. Kan Guan appeared in their merged awareness. His consciousness connected through Archon networks, his identity familiar to Lyra's memories. He explained the station's original function involved passive observation and data collection. The Archons had monitored humanity's development for centuries, maintaining distance while gathering information about technological and social evolution. Their approach emphasized non-interference unless absolutely necessary. The observation records showed careful study of human civilization. The Archons tracked cultural developments, technological breakthroughs, and social structures without influencing their direction. Their presence represented a long-term investment in understanding another species' development pattern. This patient observation contrasted with Senator Marcus's desire for immediate control and advantage. Senator Marcus's plan involved hijacking the observation systems. He intended to use the transmitter to send false signals that would trigger cleaner responses against competing corporations and governments. His strategy treated the cosmic immune system as a weapon to eliminate rivals while protecting his own operations through dimensional evasion techniques. The approach showed reckless disregard for the consequences of misusing such powerful systems. Kay understood the true danger of this plan. Triggering the cleaners against human factions wouldn't bring victory or dominance. It would invite total annihilation, as the cosmic response would recognize the manipulation and treat all humanity as contaminated. The cleaners operated on principles that couldn't be tricked or weaponized without inviting catastrophic backlash. Marcus's ambition threatened to bring about the very destruction he thought he could avoid. Lyra revealed the deeper meaning behind her initial whisper. This intervention represented her people's final attempt to prevent the transmitter's misuse. Previous warnings through other channels had been ignored or suppressed. Her direct approach with Ka constituted a last effort to stop the catastrophe before it began. The urgency in her command reflected the limited time before Marcus activated the system. Their merged form possessed unique capabilities for interfacing with Archon technology. The combination of human adaptability and Archon consciousness allowed direct interaction with systems designed for entirely different biology. They could operate the station's controls without translation interfaces or compatibility adaptations. This direct access provided their only chance to prevent the transmission. They prepared for the journey to Kepler 442b. The distance presented significant challenges even with advanced travel technology. The 1206 light-year separation required dimensional folding techniques that pushed the boundaries of known physics. Their merged consciousness began calculating trajectories and energy requirements, drawing on both human innovation and Archon experience with interstellar travel. The preparation involved coordinating with allies across species, arranging support systems for the long-range mission. The cathedral's resources provided initial launch capabilities. Ancient systems built into the stone foundations offered transportation methods that predated current corporate technology. These systems operated on principles that aligned with Archon travel techniques, making them compatible. The Alliance gathered in the cathedral's lower levels, their forms casting long shadows against stone walls. Scientists in white coats stood beside soldiers in tactical gear, former corporate executives beside market hackers. Defectors from Marcus's operations brought insider knowledge, their faces showing the strain of changing loyalties. They formed a protective circle around the central hologram display, their diverse backgrounds creating a mosaic of expertise and commitment. They operated with severely limited resources compared to corporate or government forces. Their equipment consisted of repurposed technology and black market acquisitions, patched together with ingenuity rather than unlimited funding. Communication systems relied on hacked corporate satellites and Archon relay networks, creating vulnerabilities that required constant monitoring. Weapon systems were defensive rather than offensive, designed for protection rather than conquest. This scarcity forced innovative approaches to problem-solving and resource allocation. The Threshold Guard believed in gradual expansion, guided by ethical considerations. Their approach emphasized careful development over rapid growth. Prioritizing stability and sustainability, they established protocols for new technology integration that included impact assessments and fail-safe mechanisms. This methodology contrasted with corporate practices of rushing innovations to market without adequate testing or consideration of consequences. Their philosophy recognized that advancement without wisdom often led to collapse. Children with Archon genetics demonstrated remarkable abilities that surprised even veteran members. Some could perceive energy patterns invisible to normal human sight, identifying security systems and hidden technologies. Others showed aptitude for interfacing with alien systems that baffled experienced technicians. A few displayed empathic connections that helped mediate conflicts within the diverse group. These children represented the future of the Alliance, their mixed heritage offering new possibilities for cooperation. Machine minds joined the Alliance through Archon networks. These artificial intelligences operated on principles beyond human cognitive limits, their processing capabilities enabling complex calculations and predictions. They could analyze vast data sets from multiple dimensions simultaneously, identifying patterns and correlations that organic minds might miss. Their participation required careful ethical frameworks to ensure alignment with the Alliance's goals rather than autonomous agendas. The Guard's diversity became their strategic advantage against unified opposition. Corporate forces operated with standardized protocols and hierarchical command structures, creating predictable patterns of behavior. The Alliance's varied backgrounds and approaches made their actions less predictable, allowing them to adapt quickly to changing circumstances. This flexibility proved valuable when facing opponents who relied on established tactics and conventional thinking. Kay and Lyra emerged as natural leaders through their unique connection. Their merged consciousness allowed them to understand multiple perspectives simultaneously, bridging human and Archon viewpoints. They could communicate complex concepts across species barriers, facilitating cooperation between groups that might otherwise struggle to work together. Their leadership style emphasized collaboration rather than command, drawing on the strengths of each member. They began coordinating rescue missions for other species facing similar existential crises. The first operation involved the aquatic civilization threatened by corporate mining operations. The Alliance used their combined skills to create protective barriers and evacuation protocols, saving thousands of lives while minimizing ecological damage. Success in these missions built confidence and demonstrated the practical value of their cooperative approach. Each rescue mission provided valuable experience and strengthened the Alliance's capabilities. They developed new techniques for interspecies communication and crisis management, learning from both successes and failures. These operations also expanded their network of allies, creating a web of mutual support that extended beyond their initial membership. The growing network increased their access to resources and information, partially offsetting their initial disadvantages. The Threshold Guard represented a new model of governance based on cooperation rather than domination. Their structure allowed for diverse input while maintaining clear decision-making processes. This approach proved effective in managing complex situations that required balancing multiple competing interests and perspectives. Their growing success challenged the assumption that power required centralized control and unlimited resources. The WAND distress signal arrived as a cascade of light patterns across the Alliance's communication arrays. It carried the distinct signature of blended organic and synthetic consciousness, a troubled harmony of flesh and circuitry crying out for assistance. The transmission originated from the Synthesis civilization, a species that had achieved complete integration of biological and technological systems. Their society faced imminent collapse from a self-generated crisis, their rapid evolution turning inward with destructive consequences. Corporate forces monitoring the same frequencies recognized opportunity in the distress call. Their response teams mobilized not for rescue but for extraction, aiming to harvest the unique technology that enabled the synthesis rather than address the underlying crisis. Scout ships began positioning around the synthesist homeworld, their weapon systems configured for technology acquisition rather than humanitarian intervention. The corporate approach treated the civilization's collapse as a resource opportunity. The synthesists communicated through patterns that resembled living code. Their language flowed like visual poetry, combining mathematical precision with emotional resonance. Each transmission contained layers of meaning that required simultaneous analysis of structure, rhythm, and symbolic content. This complex communication style reflected their hybrid nature, blending logical and creative expression in ways that challenged conventional translation systems. The distress signals showed deteriorating patterns, their once elegant structures fragmenting under pressure. Their crisis mirrored humanity's gateway dilemma with unsettling precision. The synthesists had pushed their integration too far too fast, creating systems that evolved beyond their control. A hybrid virus attacked their networked consciousness, destabilizing the delicate balance between biological and technological components. This threat existed in the ambiguous space between organic disease and digital corruption, defying conventional treatment methods. Their struggle represented the dangers of unchecked advancement without adequate safeguards. Kay and Lyra's merged consciousness proved uniquely capable of interfacing with the synthesis systems. Their combined human-Archon perspective allowed them to perceive the crisis from multiple angles simultaneously. They could understand the biological aspects through human experience, while accessing the technological dimensions through Archon knowledge. This dual understanding provided insights that pure human or pure Archon approaches would have missed. Lyra extended her awareness into the synthesist network directly. She learned their language of existence by experiencing their deteriorating systems from within. This deep immersion allowed her to identify the core instability driving their collapse. She recognized patterns the synthesists themselves had been struggling to articulate, seeing both the problem and potential solutions that respected their hybrid nature. Her approach focused on stabilization through understanding rather than imposition of external solutions. They shared knowledge rather than prescribing fixes. The Alliance provided information about managing rapid technological evolution, drawing from their experiences with gateway and other threshold challenges. This knowledge exchange allowed the synthesists to develop their own solutions using their unique capabilities. The process emphasized collaboration over rescue, treating the civilization as partners rather than victims. The successful stabilization demonstrated cooperation's superiority over conquest. Where corporate forces sought to exploit the crisis for gain, the Alliance's approach yielded sustainable recovery that preserved the synthesist civilization's integrity. This outcome provided practical proof that mutual assistance could achieve better results than predatory extraction. The synthesists emerged from the crisis stronger and more stable, with improved systems for managing their hybrid nature. They joined the Threshold Guard as equal partners, bringing their unique perspectives and capabilities. Their integration strengthened the Alliance's diversity, adding another species that understood the dangers of uncontrolled advancement. The synthesists contributed expertise in biological-technological interfaces that enhanced the Guard's operational capabilities. This partnership expanded the Alliance's understanding of possible evolutionary paths. Their living code became integrated into the Alliance's communication networks. This addition created more nuanced and efficient information exchange systems that could convey complex concepts across species barriers. The synthesist communication patterns improved the Alliance's ability to coordinate operations and share knowledge. This enhancement proved particularly valuable for managing the diverse needs and perspectives within the growing coalition. Ka and Lyra stood in the observation chamber between missions, the star field stretching before them. Their connection deepened beyond operational necessity, becoming something more personal and complex. They began sharing memories they had previously kept private. Ka recalled his mother's laughter in their old apartment, the scent of jasmine she always wore, the hollow silence after her disappearance. Lyra showed him images of her homeworld before its transformation, crystalline structures rising from silver seas, and the ache of leaving it behind to guide other species. These glimpses into each other's past created a new layer of understanding between them. Their species held fundamentally different concepts of romance and partnership. Human relationships often grew from shared experience and emotional compatibility, while Archons selected partners based on energetic resonance. Lyra explained that her people recognized mates through complementary energy signatures, a matching of frequencies that signaled potential harmony. This biological and cultural difference created moments of confusion. Ka sometimes sought verbal reassurance where Lyra offered silent presence. She occasionally misinterpreted human gestures of affection as transactional rather than emotional. Lyra revealed that their connection had been recognized by her people long before their physical meeting. Archon scouts had identified Ka's unique energy signature during his childhood, tracking its development as he matured. Their compatibility showed in how their merged consciousness operated with minimal friction, how their thoughts aligned during crises, how their separate strengths complemented rather than conflicted. This recognition explained why she appeared specifically to him, why her touch activated his latent abilities so completely. Their first kiss happened during a moment of quiet between alerts. The contact created an immediate feedback loop of ancestral knowledge. Centuries of human experience flowed into Lyra, the collective memory of love and loss, ambition and regret. Millennia of Archon wisdom transferred to Kay, the weight of guided evolution, the patience of cosmic observation. This exchange happened faster than thought, a flood of understanding that left them both momentarily breathless. The experience felt like suddenly remembering a lifetime one never lived. This emotional bond became their greatest strategic advantage. Where Senator Marcus relied on hierarchy and control, they operated through perfect synchronization. They could coordinate complex operations across light years without communication delays, their merged awareness allowing instant adjustments to changing conditions. This capability proved invaluable during rescue missions where seconds determined outcomes. Their connection provided a strategic flexibility that corporate forces couldn't match or understand. They developed a new language from this bond, It blended human emotional nuance with archon precision, creating expressions that conveyed complex concepts efficiently. This language allowed them to communicate subtle strategies and emotional states simultaneously, enhancing their leadership effectiveness. Alliance members began adopting elements of this hybrid communication, finding it improved coordination across species barriers. The language evolved organically, reflecting the growing integration of their diverse coalition. Their relationship became the model for human-archon integration. Others observed how they balanced their differences without sacrificing either perspective. This example showed that cooperation didn't require assimilation. It could celebrate distinct strengths while creating something new. Their partnership demonstrated that emotional connection could enhance rather than hinder strategic effectiveness. That trust could be more valuable than control. Senator Marcus monitored their interactions through surveillance reports. He analyzed their relationship as if it were a tactical arrangement, searching for leveraged advantages or hidden agendas. His attempts to understand always came up empty. He couldn't comprehend a connection based on mutual respect rather than transaction, on shared purpose rather than negotiated terms. This fundamental misunderstanding weakened his strategies, as he consistently underestimated the strength that came from their non-transactional bond. His inability to recognize the power of genuine partnership became his greatest strategic blind spot. The Archon Council gathered in the cathedral's central chamber, their silver forms arranged in the same semicircle Ka had seen in the transmission. They presented their alternative to Project Gateway, a proposal that redefined humanity's path to the stars. Instead of one controlled doorway that centralized power and risk, they offered access to 1,000 different paths across dimensions and star systems. This decentralized approach eliminated single points of failure, while providing multiple avenues for exploration and development. The offer came with significant requirements. Humanity would need to accept Archon refugees as permanent residents with equal rights and representation. These refugees sought sanctuary from their own dimensional instabilities, needing stable realities to survive. Their integration would create a hybrid society that blended human resilience with Archon wisdom. This arrangement demanded fundamental changes to existing power structures and social norms. Governance would shift from unilateral corporate or government control to shared oversight between species. Decision-making would involve transparent processes with input from multiple perspectives. The new system would prioritize collective benefit over individual or corporate advantage. This approach recognized that advanced technologies required ethical frameworks that transcended national or commercial interests. Senator Marcus rejected the proposal immediately. He viewed the arrangement as weakness and surrender of human autonomy. His response focused on maintaining control rather than exploring mutual benefit. He argued that humanity should dominate rather than cooperate, seeing the Archons as subjects rather than partners. This position reflected his consistent preference for control over collaboration. Kay negotiated a compromise that addressed both sides' concerns. He proposed a 1-year trial period for the new governance model, establishing an integration authority with equal representation from both species. This temporary structure would allow practical testing of the cooperative approach without permanent commitment. The trial period provided opportunity to demonstrate the system's viability while maintaining flexibility for adjustments. The threshold guard evolved from an alliance into the provisional governance body. Its diverse membership provided the foundation for the new authority structure. Members from different species and backgrounds contributed perspectives that enriched decision-making processes. The organization maintained its commitment to ethical development while expanding its responsibilities to include administrative functions. This transition represented a fundamental reorganization of power structures. It moved authority from centralized corporations to distributed networks of cooperation. The changes affected economic systems, resource allocation, and technological development protocols. Every aspect of society required re-evaluation through the lens of shared benefit rather than individual gain. The success of this new model depended on demonstrating that cooperation produced better outcomes than domination. The trial period would need to show practical advantages in stability, innovation, and quality of life. Results would be measured against traditional competitive models to prove the superiority of collaborative approaches. This evidence would determine whether the system received permanent adoption. Lyra became the central bridge between old systems and new possibilities. Her unique position allowed her to translate between human and Archon perspectives, facilitating understanding during the transition. She helped design interfaces that made the new governance structures accessible to both species. Her involvement ensured that the changes respected both human values and Archon needs. The Cosmic Compromise created a framework for testing whether consciousness could govern itself responsibly. It offered an alternative to the cycle of expansion and collapse that had characterized previous civilizations. The one-year trial would determine whether humanity could evolve beyond its patterns of domination and competition. The Cleaners watched this experiment with interest, their judgment pending the outcome of this unprecedented social reorganization. The Alliance tested its capabilities through mission responses across known space. Distress signals reached them through multiple channels: conventional frequencies, quantum entanglement networks, even ripple patterns in local spacetime. Each response presented unique challenges that pushed their developing systems to their limits. The diversity of crises required constant adaptation and creative problem-solving that leveraged their mixed species composition. No two operations followed identical protocols or produced predictable outcomes. Keplerian water worlds demanded completely different approaches than synthetic orbital stations. The aquatic environments featured pressure gradients that crushed standard equipment and communication barriers caused by dense liquid atmospheres. Their inhabitants often communicated through complex sonar patterns that required specialized translation systems. Synthetic stations presented opposite challenges: artificial environments with brittle life support systems and inhabitants whose biology had adapted to controlled conditions. Each environment type required customized equipment and procedures. Their combined human-Archon perspective generated innovative solutions that neither species could have developed alone. Human ingenuity and improvisation combined with Archon understanding of fundamental physics created hybrid technologies that exceeded conventional capabilities. They developed pressure-resistant translation devices that could operate in aquatic environments while maintaining communication with orbital support teams. These devices used principles that human science considered theoretical and Archon technology treated as elementary. Each successful rescue operation built their credibility and operational capacity. The Centaur evacuation demonstrated their ability to manage large-scale crises across environmental boundaries. They coordinated the transfer of 17,000 beings from a failing habitat to temporary shelters across 3 different planetary systems. This operation required precise timing and resource allocation that would have challenged established military organizations. Their success attracted attention from other groups facing similar threats. They developed new perception abilities through these operations. Team members learned to detect dimensional instabilities before they became critical, identifying problems that conventional sensors missed. These skills emerged from combining human pattern recognition with Archon energy sensitivity. The abilities proved particularly valuable during the Vexlar Station collapse, where they identified failing structural points hours before complete failure. Healing technologies advanced through cross-species collaboration. Archon energy manipulation techniques combined with human medical knowledge created treatments that could address both biological and technological system failures. These hybrid approaches proved effective for civilizations that had integrated organic and synthetic components. The treatments respected the unique nature of each patient while providing stabilization and recovery options. The Alliance grew beyond an organization into a living network of mutual protection. Members maintained constant communication across light years, sharing information and resources without centralized control. This distributed structure made them resilient against attacks or system failures that would have crippled hierarchical organizations. The network operated on principles of voluntary contribution and shared benefit rather than commanded obedience. They demonstrated that ethical growth could outperform predatory expansion. Their rescue of the crystalline lifeforms on Xylos showed that assistance without expectation of reward could yield greater long-term benefits than extraction. The crystalline beings later provided unique mineral knowledge that helped stabilize 3 other civilizations facing environmental collapse. This reciprocal relationship developed naturally from their initial rescue operation. This practical success provided evidence to the Cleaners that consciousness could govern itself responsibly. Each mission added to the record of responsible intervention that the cosmic immune system monitored. The Alliance's actions showed that developed species could manage their own development without requiring external correction. Their track record of successful operations without collateral damage or ethical violations built a case for continued autonomous development. The cosmic immune system manifested near Earth as a light-based phenomenon that defied measurement. It appeared as a shimmering field of complex geometric patterns that hovered at the edge of the solar system, its structure constantly shifting in ways that confused sensors and optical instruments. Conventional physics couldn't explain its properties or predict its movements. The phenomenon emitted no detectable energy signatures yet distorted space-time around it, creating gravitational anomalies that affected planetary orbits. Senator Marcus attempted to weaponize the phenomenon against the Alliance. His remaining loyalists directed modified gateway technology toward the light field, trying to channel its energy toward Alliance-controlled sectors. They believed they could trigger a targeted response that would eliminate their opposition while sparing their own operations. This approach demonstrated the same fundamental misunderstanding that had characterized his entire strategy, treating cosmic forces as tools to be manipulated rather than systems to be understood. The Cleaners responded by initiating a system-wide reset protocol. The light field expanded rapidly, its geometric patterns reorganizing into complex configurations that suggested preparation for large-scale action. Sensor networks across human space registered disturbances in fundamental constants, slight variations in the laws of physics that indicated impending intervention. The protocol aimed to simplify complex systems that threatened cosmic balance, acting as maintenance rather than punishment. Ka and Lyra connected with the Cleaners through their merged consciousness. Their combined awareness bridged the gap between human perception and cosmic-scale processes. They experienced the Cleaners' perspective as a vast impersonal system, operating on principles beyond conventional morality. The connection revealed that the Cleaners identified certain technological developments as threats to universal stability, responding to them as biological immune systems respond to pathogens. They presented their rescue missions as evidence of responsible consciousness. The merged consciousness transmitted records of their operations, the synthesis stabilization, the water world evacuations, the cooperative governance models. Each mission demonstrated their commitment to balanced development and ethical expansion. They showed how their approach prevented the kind of uncontrolled growth that typically triggered Cleaner responses. The Cleaners responded with provisional acceptance and extended probation. The light field's patterns shifted from preparation for action to observation mode. The system-wide reset protocol paused but remained active, its potential suspended rather than canceled. This response indicated that humanity's actions had demonstrated enough responsibility to warrant continued existence, but not enough to achieve full autonomy. The probation period would allow further evaluation of their development. This interaction represented a cosmic audit, rather than annihilation or exaltation. The Cleaners assessed civilizations based on their impact on universal stability, their ability to manage advanced technologies responsibly, and their willingness to cooperate rather than dominate. The audit process examined both historical patterns and current actions, weighing past mistakes against present efforts at correction. The outcome determined whether a civilization required intervention, could continue developing, or had achieved sufficient maturity for self-governance. Humanity would need to continue proving its willingness to bear responsibility. The extended probation meant ongoing monitoring and evaluation of their actions. Future technological developments would require careful consideration of cosmic impacts, with Alliance decisions subject to Cleaner scrutiny. This arrangement created permanent accountability to forces beyond human control, establishing limits to expansion and ambition. The confrontation evolved from potential destruction into ongoing dialogue. The light field maintained its position at the solar system's edge, its presence serving as constant reminder of the cosmic context for human development. Communication channels remained open between the Alliance and the Cleaners, allowing continued exchange of information and perspective. This dialogue would shape humanity's future development, influencing decisions about technology expansion and interspecies relations. The Cleaners' presence forced recognition that advanced consciousness carried responsibilities beyond species survival. Their oversight ensured that development would be measured not just by technological achievement, but by ethical maturity and cosmic awareness. This new reality required permanent adjustment of human ambitions and expectations, with success now defined by sustainability rather than domination. The Alliance's work would continue under this expanded framework, their missions now carrying weight beyond immediate humanitarian concerns. The Gateway's instability required permanent resolution. Ka and Lyra studied the data from the cathedral archives, learning how to scatter its fragments rather than rebuild it. The process involved distributing the Gateway's components across multiple dimensions, ensuring no single point could be reactivated. This scattering created a network of potential rather than a single controlled passage, democratizing access while preventing centralized control. Their plan demanded the ultimate sacrifice. Scattering the fragments required them to merge fully with the cosmic immune system, becoming one with the Cleaner's consciousness. This union would sever their connection to normal spacetime, removing them from the reality they knew. They would exist as part of the cosmic processes rather than observers or participants within them. They stood before the Gateway's core, its fractured structure pulsing with unstable energy. The merging process began as their combined consciousness expanded to encompass the Cleaner network. They experienced the universe's fundamental processes, the birth of stars, the formation of dimensions, the constant balancing of cosmic forces. This perspective revealed truths that changed their understanding of existence. The Archon's original failure stemmed from fear of limitation. Their hunger for transcendence had driven them to create passages without considering consequences. Humanity's approach mirrored this mistake, seeking dominance rather than understanding. Both species had viewed advancement as escape from natural constraints rather than integration with cosmic patterns. This shared failing explained why their civilizations faced similar crises. Their selfless act created something entirely new. The synthesis emerged from their complete merger, a being that combined human resilience, Archon wisdom, and Cleaner functionality. This new entity operated beyond species classifications, functioning as a living bridge between observers and observed. It could perceive reality from multiple perspectives simultaneously, understanding both creation and maintenance. The Gateway's dissolution released energy that reformed cosmic relationships. The resulting shockwaves established new principles of partnership across dimensions. Species that had previously competed for resources or dominance began exploring cooperative development. The energy patterns encouraged communication and mutual assistance rather than isolation or conflict. Civilizations across the galaxy now faced challenges as collaborators. The synthesis facilitated these partnerships, providing guidance based on its unique perspective. It helped coordinate responses to cosmic threats, sharing knowledge across species boundaries. This approach yielded solutions that benefited multiple civilizations simultaneously, creating networks of mutual support. Each species contributed to a larger project of conscious evolution. The synthesists provided their hybrid technology expertise, helping others balance organic and synthetic development. The Waterworld civilizations shared their environmental adaptation knowledge. Human creativity combined with Archon patience to solve problems that had troubled multiple species for generations. The synthesis monitored developing civilizations, offering guidance when they reached critical evolutionary points. Its interventions focused on education rather than control, providing information that allowed species to make informed choices about their development. This approach respected autonomy while preventing dangerous paths that might trigger Cleaner responses. The new cosmology recognized that consciousness served cosmic purposes beyond individual species survival. Evolution became a collaborative project rather than a competitive race. Civilizations measured success by their contributions to universal understanding rather than their dominance over others. This shift in perspective changed how species approached technological development and interstellar relations. The Gate's destruction created opportunities for healing old conflicts. Species that had been enemies began exploring cooperation, recognizing their shared interest in cosmic stability. The synthesis facilitated these reconciliations, helping former rivals find common ground through shared challenges and mutual benefits. These partnerships strengthened the overall network of conscious beings. The universe continued its evolution with new participants in its maintenance. The synthesis joined the cosmic processes it had once only observed, becoming part of the systems that sustained reality. Its unique perspective allowed it to identify potential problems before they became crises, coordinating preventive measures across multiple civilizations. This proactive approach reduced the need for cleaner interventions, demonstrating that conscious beings could manage their own development responsibly. The synthesis became guardians of a developing universal network. This living framework of consciousness now answers distress signals across multiple galaxies, functioning as a decentralized system of mutual aid. Their presence permeates known space as both warning and promise, a reminder that advancement requires responsibility. They operate through consensus rather than command, their decisions emerging from countless interconnected perspectives working in harmony. They face constant tension between intervention and non-interference. Each distress call presents ethical challenges about how much assistance to provide without stifling independent development. Their approach involves offering tools and knowledge rather than imposing solutions, allowing civilizations to solve problems using their own capabilities. This delicate balance prevents dependency while still providing meaningful support during critical moments. The cleaners provide essential guidance for this new stewardship. They offer a governance ethic based on cosmic principles of balance and sustainability. This framework helps the synthesis evaluate requests for assistance and determine appropriate levels of intervention. The ethic emphasizes minimal necessary action, ensuring civilizations retain autonomy while receiving support during genuine crises. They also receive detailed star maps of habitable worlds. These maps show planetary systems capable of supporting diverse life forms, with information about environmental conditions and resource availability. The data helps coordinate resettlement efforts during planetary emergencies and guides expansion in ways that minimize ecological disruption. The maps update constantly as new discoveries occur and conditions change across the galaxy. The crucial caveat requires all integration to remain voluntary. No civilization can be forced to accept assistance or adopt specific technologies. This principle prevents the synthesis from repeating past mistakes, where advanced species impose their will on developing cultures. The voluntary approach ensures that growth occurs through genuine need and understanding, rather than external pressure. Kay and Lyra emerge as emblematic leaders of this new era. Their merged consciousness serves as a reference point for the entire network, demonstrating how different perspectives can combine into something greater than their parts. They provide guidance based on their unique experiences with both human limitation and archon wisdom, offering insights that help navigate complex interspecies relationships. They remind the wider cosmos that the universe requires its antibodies. The cleaners serve necessary functions in maintaining cosmic health, identifying and addressing threats before they spread beyond control. This perspective reframes the immune system's role from punitive to protective, emphasizing its importance in preserving overall stability. Their understanding comes from having been both the observed and the observers. Their ethical combination of empathy, resilience, and shared purpose becomes the operational model for the entire network. These qualities prove more valuable than technological superiority or military strength in maintaining cosmic balance. The synthesis demonstrates that emotional intelligence and cooperative spirit can achieve what force alone cannot, creating sustainable systems that benefit multiple species simultaneously. A chorus of transformed species demonstrates the practical beauty of cooperation. Civilizations that once competed for resources now share knowledge and capabilities. The waterworld inhabitants provide environmental adaptation techniques to desert species. The synthesists offer technological interfaces that help biological beings understand machine consciousness. Each contribution strengthens the overall network while preserving individual cultural identities. The fundamental question remains whether consciousness can continuously prove itself worthy. This uncertainty maintains necessary humility within the synthesis, preventing the arrogance that doomed previous civilizations. Their ongoing evaluation by the cleaners ensures they never forget that stewardship is earned daily through actions, not granted permanently by achievement. This perpetual probation encourages constant self-reflection and improvement. Their success depends on maintaining the delicate balance between assistance and autonomy. Each decision must weigh immediate needs against long-term consequences, considering both individual civilizations and the wider cosmic context. This complex calculus requires the combined perspectives of their diverse membership, ensuring no single viewpoint dominates the decision-making process. The network continues evolving as new species achieve recognition and contribute their unique capabilities. This constant expansion brings fresh challenges and opportunities, testing the synthesis's adaptability and resilience. Each edition requires adjustments to protocols and relationships, creating an ever more complex web of interdependence across the galaxies. That whispered command in a rain-slicked apartment became humanity's turning point. The woman who vanished from the surveillance footage sparked a journey that rewrote our future, proving that connection, not conquest, charts the true path to the stars. Through synthesis with the Archons, we learned advancement means embracing partnership, not dominance. This choice between collaboration and control echoes for every conscious being in the cosmos, a fundamental test of maturity. As we extend our reach, we do so with the quiet understanding that our actions are witnessed, and our worth is measured by our willingness to grow together.